Okay, we'll move to item 10.3. I'm going to excuse myself from this item and pass the meeting over to Pro Tem Bill Link.
Just for the folks that are standing up, there are a few seats up here in the front next to Mr. Gutierrez and Lisa. They don't bite from what I know, so unless you want to sit in the front.
She's doing science now.
Oh, okay. Well, there's plenty of seats. You can get a little cozy, but
Okay, I guess I'm going to staff report on this first.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. This evening, staff will present to you two options for the widening of Sliceman Avenue east of Cucamonga Creek. Tonight's recommended action is for the City Council to provide direction to staff regarding the selection of the alignment for the Sliceman Avenue Road widening, as I mentioned, east of the Cucamonga Creek. There are two options which I'll walk you through. I'll walk you through. Option A is the county-approved alignment per tentative track map. Per tentative track map 35751, or the other option is the city alternative, what we call option B. Give you a little background on this project. In August 2008, the Lewis Company received conditional approval for this project from the County of Riverside for tentative track map 35751, and this is to construct 240 residential units. One of the conditions of approval requires the widening of Sliceman Road east of Cucamonga Creek. With that tentative map, the county provided an alignment, which is option A. The current condition of this roadway, as many of you know, it's basically a 6-lane roadway it's a divided highway between Hellman Avenue and Archibald Avenue. And there's a remaining section east of the creek where it's 4 lanes, 2 lanes each direction for approximately 600 feet. Recently, as you can recall, the bridge was widened on the south side of this roadway. And I mentioned there's several alternatives that we considered to widen this section of Sliceman. This might be a little bit hard to see, but basically what it is this is the county adopted alignment, which is it's 3 lanes eastbound and then 2 lanes westbound. The creek is right about in this location. The widening is along here, about 600 feet, and there is a residential development here that would be impacted by this widening. The tree, there's a silk floss tree there that was planted by the property owner in about 1982. And that sits what they call the number 3 lane or the curb lane, almost in the middle of that lane, and it would require the removal of this tree with that alignment. The blue here is the sidewalk, and then the red here is the divided median. It'll be landscaped. And then this is a signalized intersection that's signalized now. The access to, this is the development in here. So it surrounds that single-family residence. Major access will be provided here at the signalized intersection, and there'll be another access here for ride-out only. The other option that was prepared by city staff is to move the roadway a little bit towards the north here. There's a 2,000-foot radius along this direction, and the design speed for that radius is about 60 miles per hour. The current posted speed limit is 50 miles per hour, so more than provides enough safety there for the roadway. And the way we save this tree is the property owner is willing to dedicate 9 feet from the trunk of that tree to build a sidewalk here, as I'm pointing out. So everything shifts a little bit to the north, about 14 feet. We still maintain the same roadway capacity, 3 lanes each direction, so there's no loss of street capacity. We can still provide bike lanes on both sides of Sliceman Road. Right now, the city is going through a bikeway master plan, and we're identifying streets where bike lanes can be striped So if we wanted to stripe a bike lane here, with either alternative, we can accommodate a bike lane.
George, before you move
Yes.
off that, those exhibits, just for the layperson, can you explain what a design radius is?
Yes, it's the curvature of the roadway. It's a radius.
Okay.
So there's either, it's what they call a tangent, which is a straight center line, or a lot of your roadways have a slight bend or curvature to it. And that can vary from 300 feet to several thousand feet.
Thank you. And then, excuse me, from the intersection that's shown on
Whoops.
either exhibit to, I guess it would be to the bridge, but the easterly most portion of the bridge, how far is that ballpark?
There's about 600 feet of widening there
Okay.
that will be provided.
And it's like one of those things you drive by every day and you don't remember what it looks like.
Yeah.
There's a concrete rail right there on the south side.
That's correct.
Okay, and in either design, was there any consideration or any need to have consideration for line of sight, given that curve, the house, and everything?
Yeah, the line of sight is good for the 2,000-foot radius we're proposing. Sometimes line of sight is hindered by what you call a vertical curve, where the roadway is actually raised. In this particular situation, we don't have that. I might mention, too, that curvatures and roadways are very common. In fact, we have one here right now. If you've driven it, there's about a 1,200-foot radius there now. So we're adding an 800-foot to that radius. And I just drove it this morning, traveling at the speed of 50 miles per hour, and you can negotiate that roadway with a 1,200-foot radius very easily. So we're adding to that. There's other sections of Limonite, a section of Limonite that has a curvature east of Scholar Way. In fact, Sliceman just east of Hellman Avenue has a little bit of a bend or curvature there now. Sometimes you get into more drastic ones like Archibald Avenue. Those are a little more drastic. Or where River Road and Hellman Avenue, join. That's what I would call a more severe curvature. It's almost like a 90-degree bend, but it does have a turning radius to it.
Like how you said, you're traveling exactly the speed limit as you're sitting next to our police chief.
Well, I'm the one that recommended the speed limit, so.
I thought the same thing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Next slide is.
Actually, may I also follow up? We're talking about a curvature in the road here.
Yes, sir.
Now, with your experience as an engineer, and when there are curvatures in the road, I mean, are there hard and fast rules associated with that in terms of safety? In terms of the amount of accidents that are caused by curves in the road? Is there a difference?
Well, it depends on the radius of the curve. If you got something like a 300-foot radius on an arterial street, you're going to have more accidents. We have some accidents in Archibald, but that's more of a severe curve there. This one, we didn't even have to, what they call super elevate or bank, because you wouldn't even notice a 2,000-foot radius. It's very, very mild. So accidents are really going to depend on the lane widths and the radius of the curve, and then the speed as well too. In my professional judgment, I don't see this as being I don't want to say dangerous, but it's not going to hinder safety, my professional opinion. Because we're all meeting the design standards of this roadway, which is 60 miles per hour. And like I say, we have many streets in the city that have curvatures, and I don't see major problems with that unless maybe Captain here knows of other accidents, but I don't know of any others.
I'd like to have, well, I can wait till later.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Well, let me ask you one, George, while we're right here then, real quick.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if there's any state or county guidelines, but if there are, does this fall into the parameters of those guidelines?
Absolutely. We are following the federal manual, which is called the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Device. And then we're also following the state traffic design, Caltrans design manual. So everything when we design these roads, we make sure we meet those design standards. Because wherever sued, the first thing the plaintiff's attorney is going to say, did you meet the guidelines? Did you meet those standards? And the answer is absolutely yes. I wouldn't recommend these if they didn't.
Thank
And I
you.
certainly would bring it to your attention.
Just to put it in terms I can understand, there's already a curvature there, or a curve in the road.
That's correct.
We're simply going to extend it.
We're going to make that radius longer.
So the part that's being added, would you, in your judgment, is it more significant or less significant than the existing curvature?
The curvature will be less significant because of the larger radius. Right. Right. Yeah. Okay. All right, this is the design speed guidelines that we use, and your question of did we follow design standards? And here's the sources we use, as I mentioned, the California Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Device, and then the Caltrans Design Manual. So this is the Bible that civil engineers use, so we make sure we follow those design standards. This is down here at the bottom is if you have a super elevation. In other words, it's banked. So it's basically it's flat, the cross slope. So we use 0, and then I know it's kind of hard to read there, but this is about a 2,000. This is 2,000. This is the radius, 2,000 foot radius, and then here's the design speed. So right there, it's 60 miles per hour, which is 10 miles per hour over the posted speed limit. A couple of other things I'd just like to point out is that we did receive an email from Lewis Company, and they are willing to implement either alternative. There's no cost to the city whether we go with option A or option B. The property owner is willing to dedicate the land free to the city, no cost. So there's no fiscal impact for this project, whether we choose alternate for the sidewalk, whether we choose option A or option B. All the improvements will be paid for by the developer. This evening, Brian Goodman is here from the Lewis Company, and I think he wants to say just a couple of words here. Oh. You want
Good evening, I'm Brian Goodman with the Lewis Company. Thank you for having us tonight. I want to thank staff for coming up with this option B, which we think is a very practical and reasonable solution to the situation. One thing I just wanted to make clear is that major public arterials like this particular road, those guidelines are set by those public agencies. So our job as developers is simply to comply with the rules with which we're given. So we're happy under both scenarios, and I think Councilmember Rush can attest that the county modifying the standard design that they had was not a very realistic situation. So once again, thank you to staff for coming up with this alternative, and look forward to implementing whatever we choose.
Thank you. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
You answered mine. Anybody else, any questions? Joe?
It has to deal with the maintenance, landscaping. Is that just going to be incorporated in the existing landscape?
But my understanding is property owners are willing to maintain that right of way between the curb and the sidewalk and
So
the
they're
tree.
willing to foot the bill?
Right.
Anything else? Jonah? Clint?
Associated with this kind of tree, if we do indeed go with a second option, option B, which would keep the tree in place, the root systems associated with this tree, how would those impact the sidewalk that would be put in?
That's a good question. I think let's see if there's a, on that one board there, I know it's kind of hard to see, but the one there on the far right, that option is, that's the option A, which we lose the tree. And then option B, there's a clearance of about 9 feet between the curb and the trunk of the tree. And then from back of the tree to the edge of the sidewalk, there's about 15 feet. You're correct in that when the contractor is constructing the sidewalk, compacting the soil, and building that curb, then there may be some root pruning, root shaving. And we have told the property owner there's no guarantee that the tree can survive once that's shaved or pruned there when we do. We're trying to save the tree, but we provided as much of an offset between the curb and the sidewalk to not impact the roots.
No, but my question actually goes towards after the fact. If the tree is able to stay, how would that type of tree uproot the sidewalk in the long term?
There's what they can do is install root barriers. We can certainly require that on the plans. You can go down 2 or 3 feet so that the roots don't go under the sidewalk and lift the sidewalk. So there's methods you can install to prevent root intrusion to lift the curb or the trees.
Now, where the tree is currently located, now that property is currently held by the homeowner
Yes.
there, or is it held by Lewis? Who's it held by right now?
Where the tree is, it's held by the homeowner. It's 14560 Sliceman Avenue. So
Right, okay. But what in the diagrams there, I see option A still maintains the tree. So the tree is there either way?
No, in option A, the tree is going to be removed. It can't be salvaged. It's it's right in the middle of that third eastbound lane, so that has to be removed.
Okay,
Only option B saves the tree.
okay. All right. And so for this, so the land will be, if we went with option A, the homeowner is giving up this land? It's not already owned by Lewis?
My understanding is that if he goes option A, there's no dedication required from the homeowner. If he goes option B, then there has to be some dedication because we're moving the sidewalk much further towards the property owner's home there. So here's where the sidewalk is, and you would have to move the right-of-way line about 9 feet towards the property owner. So there is some dedication with option B, not option A.
Okay. And once it is within option B, the tree then becomes with the city. So the city maintains the tree at that point.
My understanding is that the property owner is willing to maintain that tree in the parkway.
On city, what will be city property?
In the parkway, and that's not uncommon. A lot of parkways are maintained by the property owners.
Thank you.
I do have a question.
Adam?
I'm assuming the issue of relocation of the tree has been discussed and not found as a viable option. If so, could you give us the point by point or just a quick summary of those discussions?
I'm sorry, could you?
The issue of salvaging and relocating the tree, has that been discussed?
That
and put to
has
bed?
been, and we had an arborist look at it, and they wouldn't guarantee, it's probably got a 50-50 chance of surviving. The trees go into shock when you relocate them, and there's no guarantee that they'll survive once they go into shock. So it's very costly to move a tree that size, and my experience is it's unlikely it would be saved.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, gentlemen? Okay, now we're going to open up for public comment. We have quite a few people that wish to speak, so I'm going to hold you to the 2-minute rule. The first one is Jenna Chen.
Hello, thank you, Mayor and City Council and citizens. This tree is like a welcome sign to Eastville. We were here in 2002, and the first thing we saw was that tree and the Bootsville Ranch. It's amazing, and then even now when I come home from work, like a lot of us here, when we pass, when we go to work and when we come home, we see that, and especially at night, I look forward to that tree and the ranch to know that I'm home. It's like a welcome sign to Eastville, and I hope that this tree will be there to also welcome, my kids and my grandkids to Eastville, because that's how majestic it is to me. And I think what better way to have a landmark such as that tree, a living, breathing welcome sign to Eastville. So save the tree!
Thank you. Enthusiastic. Lisa Calderon?
I don't think I'm going to better. She did a great job. That tree is an icon for Eastvale, and it is a symbol because it was here longer than any of us. And it is beautiful, it is steadfast, and we need to keep it. So I would urge you to choose option B so that we can keep that tree. Little curve in the road is nothing compared to keeping our heritage. So save the tree. Thank you.
Thank you. I can't make it to Cassandra, I think. Right Hall?
Raffle.
Rattle? Can you make that?
Cynthia.
Cynthia?
Kanisha. Excuse me. Kanisha.
Raffle.
Sanisha? Oh, it's Sanisha, I'm sorry.
It's Sentia. Or not Sentia.
I didn't know it was her.
It's Sentia.
Hi, sweetie.
Cynthia.
Hi, I'm Cynthia again from Rosebud. I'm the president there. Mr. Bisma, he supported our club by being at Kiwanis, and when I heard that the tree was going to be brought down, it kind of, it really shocked me because it was there since I moved out here, and it's always been something like I was always looking forward to see it. And I don't think it's okay for, I think option B would be a great solution to it because not only will it be there for the family, but also for the city to look at it, and it's a beautiful tree. So I highly suggest to take option B as a solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Dolores Van Leeuwen?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, City Councilman, and citizens of Eastvale. I am Dolores Van Leeuwen, and I live at 13,000 Citrus Street, Eastvale, and I've lived there for 40 years. Anybody that knows me knows that I like animals, plants, and trees. Many changes has come about over the years. Gone are the pastures and the cows and the open land. Here are rooftops now, and cement and pavement and cars. But trees do have a purpose. Hamner Avenue and Archibald had rows of sister trees, eucalyptus trees, planted for a windbreak on the Santa Ana winds, and that's, of course, what we're having this weekend. So, as we enter from the west, what more welcoming sight is it than seeing the flowering pink silk tree? And I've seen your maps, and I know that you like Miranda, I'm going to say it wrong, Mirandering sidewalks. Let's have a road that does the same thing. Thank you. Please save the tree.
Thank you, Dolores. Rob Christensen?
Rob Cristalon, thank you for letting me speak. I tend to go over 2 minutes, so I'll keep this probably a little less emotional. From my understanding is the people, the homeowners, entered into an agreement that started in 2004 as to what was to happen with that property and that tree. When they closed escrow in 2007 or later, when they did it, that agreement was solidified. And it was solidified pretty much based on option B, not option A. So I would say to the city council, let's not be like the rest of these politicians we see out there that change their minds. There's an agreement already in place as to what's going to happen with it. It's the option B option, not option A. If you opt for option A, it tells me and it tells other people in the city who really don't care about agreements that are made already and existing. I understand what the engineer was talking about, some of that from my own prior experience and what I did before. Broadening that curve and making the radius 2,000 feet, he said it's more or less safer, but the reality is this. That tree is no more a danger than the end of Harrison and Chandler, where the wall is, and I know people have had accidents there. The Van Leeuwen property, when 58th Street went down and dead-ended with the steel barrier, the guardrail that was there, that doesn't cause accidents, that's people over driving in cars. say the biggest hazard there is driving westbound at sunset, when it talks about the rise, looking over the bridge and the bridge into the westward setting sun as a bigger hazard. It's not going to be that tree. All the stuff that was talked about, a little less dry, a little less emotional. There's already an existing agreement with Lewis. It's not costing the city or the taxpayers any more money. So I would encourage you to go with the existing agreement and not go to something else that was not agreed upon when the sale of that property was made, even before he's going to city. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Bill Van Leeuwen.
I'm Bill Van Leeuwen. I reside at 13,000 and I've lived in that home since 1974. With that lady that was talking, a pretty lucky name. In 1913, Joyce Kilmer wrote a poem. And I like to think that he might have been looking at his son. He wrote it up with an artist about the time that a tree like that was blooming in its full bloom. So I'd like to commend the staff for coming up with an alternative. I think it's a great alternative. I'm going to read his poem. I think that I shall never see a poem as lovely as a tree whose hungry mouth is pressed against the sweet earth's flowing breast, a tree that looks at God all day and lifts her leafy arms to pray, a tree that made the summer wear a nest of flowers in her hair, upon whose bosom sun has lain, who intermittently lives with rain. And he concludes his poem with this statement: poems are made by fools like me, but only God can make true. Thank you.
Thank you. Sylvia San Martin.
Good evening. I know my perspective may not be as popular, but I do think that public safety is. I believe that we should vote in favor of option A. And the reason is that I know the road may meet the standard, but we're not just about meeting the standard for public safety. We want to meet the highest possible safety rating for our citizens. I think it's a little bit reckless to not look at that information. I was involved in meetings such as this one when I'm principal at a school and we did improvements to the road and to the sidewalk to the front of the school. We were told by an arborist that our trees would be safe, and they put in the root barriers. And the first winds came in, and those two trees fell over in my class, on my classrooms while students were present. That is a heavy traveled street, and I do not think that we are going with the safest road possible. Curvatures at a 30% higher fatality rate in car collisions. There's possible visual obstructions. So I disagree, and I know it's not popular, but I do think that we should look at the vision and we should look forward, and we should consider that our city is growing and traffic will increase. I know my kids will be driving within the next 5 years, and I've heard some terrible stories of people perishing on those same roads. We can't control Ontario roads, we can't control Chino roads, but we can't control the roads in our city limits. And they should be the safest possible for kids, because despite what we tell our children, they will text, they will get distracted, and I want to make sure that our kids have the safest possible journey, at least in our city limits, where we can affect them. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Lisa Charleston. Hi, Lisa.
Honorable Council. Hi, my name is Lisa Charleston, and I live at 1260 Northern Lane in Eastvale. any issue that I felt strongly enough about to give my opinion, in which I do about this one. I have seen both tentative track maps, and I have read the staff report from our city, who agree that the removal of this tree is not necessary for Schleifen Road to be widened or to be driven upon safely. I do feel that this tree is a landmark for our city and a beautiful part of our cityscape. I believe we have removed enough mature trees from our city, and my question to you is, why remove another one? Why when it will not affect anyone or anything? I've listed a few facts about mature trees, and would like what they would do for urban cities like ours. Trees, I know it's only one tree, but if everybody thought it was just one tree and just one tree and just one tree, and you kept taking just one tree down, it makes a big effect. So trees give us oxygen, they clean the air, they filter airborne pollutants. The trees can reduce annual stormwater runoff by 2 to 7%. Trees shade cars and parking lots, reducing ozone emissions from vehicles. They reduce noise pollution by absorbing sound, which right next to a busy road sounds pretty good to me. And also, trees in the U.S. remove 711,000 tons of air pollution annually at a value of $3.8 million. If everyone keeps cutting down our trees, what will we be breathing? I would ask for you to please consider option B and leave the tree where it stands. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Cynthia Kim.
She already spoke.
She spoke.
Oh, I got it twice. Okay. Okay, that's a closed session. We're going to close that now. Any council comments? No?
I'll go first.
Down there?
I have a comment. If I can speak and have my voice. Excuse me. Thank you. I have no voice, maybe I can't talk. Thank you to staff for going through this exercise and providing a fair and balanced approach. Just item of housekeeping before I get into my comments. In the staff report on the 2 exhibits, seemed like we PDF the CAD versions and put those in. I don't know if anybody else had any trouble or online, but don't know if that shows up as well. So just for future reference. Appreciate all the comments, everyone coming out on this item. It's usually our meetings go pretty quickly and we don't get a lot of folks coming out unless it's an item that's true to your heart. So I appreciate all of that, taking the time out of your busy schedules. My opinion is that we need to stick with what the original design was for the property and for the roadway. My dad was a landscaper for 40 years. Nature has a big cornerstone in my family. But as the lady mentioned, we are a growing city. Traffic is probably the #1 issue that came up last year. It's continuing to come up. Traffic, as we all know, is one of the biggest issues that we have to handle on a day-to-day basis, and Captain Horton knows that better than anybody else. So anything that would possibly, even if it's a possibility, negate that or diminish that, I can't be supportive of. So from my perspective, I'm in favor of option A.
Joe, anything?
I'd like, what's your opinion, Captain Horton? Do you think it's, give me your opinion on the safety aspect of it.
In matters of engineering, I defer to the city engineers and their expertise. Obviously, traffic is a huge issue for the city, something that the men and women of the police department deal with every day. Statistically speaking, the majority of accidents that occur in the city occur at controlled intersections. The majority of accidents that occur in the city last year were at the intersection of Limonite and Hamner. In fact, the 2 fatalities that were recorded for that calendar year were both in the westbound lanes of Limonite approaching Hamner. The secondary intersection is Archibald and Schleichman. So it's difficult for me to predict traffic safety based upon an engineering design, and that's why I defer to the experts, and we work hand in hand with those experts and support their decisions along the way.
Thank you. I had, how did this originate? Was there a formal request by the homeowner to come up with this option, or
Well,
something
the city
else?
was approached by Lewis Company because they want to move forward with this development. They're going to turn around and sell it to a home builder. And so we started looking at these plans, and then the homeowner did mention to staff that, you know, is there a way to salvage a tree without sacrificing traffic safety? And so that's how we came up with option B, so.
So it was basically a proposal by the developer?
Yes, sir.
I have a question that I forgot to ask. To the best that we know, not to divulge any negotiations or anything, but there has at one time been talk about a possible school site. If you go back to one of the maps, big discussion about schools, if we need a new elementary school after Ronald Reagan. I know the district's been kind of toying with that idea. Personally, when this location was mentioned, I was in total favor of it just because it is off of Schleichman, which is a busy road, notwithstanding what's going on here. Do we have any information, update, is that still on the table as a possibility?
Councilmember Rush, that's a good question. In speaking with the school district recently, that is not an option.
Okay.
Because of the access to the parcel. The school district is currently looking at land in the Chandler Walters Hall area. So they are currently in negotiations with the property owner over there for
Yeah,
10
good to hear.
acres.
The access between the enclave, mayor's house, the bridge, just never thought it worked. so-
Correct, that was an obstacle, so they have moved on to another
Okay.
parcel.
Good to know, thank you.
Thank you.
Clint? Well, the only thing I have is being on the developer side a bit, from the intersection, there's approximately 300 feet there, and what that offset does in the highway is less than 5%. I just can't see that's that big of a deal. I mean, that's really minuscule. Other than that, that's all I have to say. Anything else, gentlemen? All right, now how do we vote on this? Vote on,
Make a motion.
make a motion?
Somebody make a motion.
I'd make a motion that we adopt option B.
I second it.
Councilmember Lorimore?
No.
Councilmember Rush?
No.
Councilmember Tassari?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Link?
Aye.
There is a tie, 2-2.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, this is a tie vote, so therefore the motion fails. As we have seen in the staff report, the approved alignment for this track map is option A. So therefore, option A would be the approved alignment.
All right, well, that item's gone. Can we call the mayor back in?